It really starts with that vision of what you want for your life. What do you really, really want for your life? The more you choose yourself, the more energy you actually have for others. It's amazing when someone can know themselves, do that self-discovery work, know their shadow, what, keeps them back, how they sabotage themselves, and set goals aligned with their core values and the direction in life that they want to go. Who are you? And sit with that.
Yeah.
And the good and the bad and the ugly. All of it.
Welcome back to another episode of the 5-Minute Career Hack Podcast. And we are back in Dawa Studios with another special guest. And today, I don't know if you saw me on last episode that I did with Icy Walker, but we're talking about terms that are not commonly talked about in the professional arena. And today my guest is introducing us to a term that I had never heard of, but she embodies it so well. I love hearing her talk about it. So we're introducing it and our guest today as one of the keys to success in your career. And I'm not going to tell you the word, but I'm going to tell you who she is. Today I have Ashton Lynn Rondon here with me. She is the Chief Visionary Officer of Women Who Work. And today she is going to talk to us about Queendom. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, Ashton.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I live and breathe Queendom Moves. So let's dive in.
Yes, love it. Queendom Moves. So I hear two words going on there. So I'm gonna let's just hop right in, because I'm sure people can maybe in their mind piece the words together and maybe guess what it is. But I want you to talk about, what does Queendom mean in its context? And when you think about somebody who's about to embrace their queendom, what's the most critical step? Now, obviously, this is for women, for this particular aspect of it. What's the most critical step every woman should take today to begin building her queendom?
Yeah, so the word queendom is out there. We've heard queendom. And how it came about for me, and in this term, especially specifically with Queendom Moves, is I'm a list person. It was like the start of the pandemic, and I'm making lists, and I felt that I wasn't really, I felt a little lost. Like, okay, I'm making all these lists and I'm getting lost in the mix. And so I started to chunk my list into different okay, this is for the house, this is for my son, this is work I need to do with my husband. And then I realized, like, wow, all of this is building my queendom. And my queendom starts with me, inside of me, and my sanctuary and my home, and everything that happens outside of my home. I can't always control that, but I can control what's in my house. And so all the moves that I make, all my goals need to move toward building that queendom. So, and it's just really empowering to say, oh, I'm making queendom moves. These are my queendom moves, instead of, oh, these are goals. So it's just like a play off of really goals, but they're more intentional, more aligned goals.
Right.
Yeah.
No, love that. So when you think about queendom being your house, and I'm a visual person, so I saw like 4 boxes. Maybe there's a personal, professional, perhaps an individual, like a self-care box. I'm just, throwing out what was going on in my head. But when somebody is creating goals or creating life habits and behaviors off of the queendom concept, how would you have them separate that out so they can purposefully and intentionally go within these however many buckets that it offers?
Right. So there's actually 10 buckets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I call them the self-work areas, because it's all about doing your self-work. And I think something that gets missed, that what I've seen, is that when you're planning your queendom, it really starts with that vision of what you want for your life. What do you really, really want for your life? And then diving into, okay, what core values do I need to have to attain that life? And then you get into the goal setting and building the habits. But until you know where you want to go, it's like a trip. When you're ready to go on a trip, you got to plan where you want to go. Once you know where you want to go, you got to decide what kind of clothes, what's the weather going to be like. And women should, in my opinion, plan their life like it's a trip, because you're somewhere right now where you may not want to be. And so where are you going?
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
that look like? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
What kind of sounds? What does it sound like? It goes deep.
So it requires you to be present.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I love that. I could only think about like a journey as you were talking, like, and I heard you mention that like it's perhaps built off of you are somewhere where you don't want to be, but even if you're somewhere where you do want to be, like you still have to get from here to there because here doesn't last forever, right?
Definitely.
And so, tell me a little bit about it, like where were you or maybe that client of yours that made you go, okay, this needs to be a self-work structure. So what was the common theme you were seeing, or maybe that circumstance? I know you shared about your personal journey, but that circumstance that was like, okay, this is exactly what it needs to look like, and on the other end of this, this is what that person should feel like, in professionally or personally.
That's a really good question. So I will say that I'm an entrepreneur, so I've had a successful business most of my career. And I remember it was 2019, so it was right before the pandemic. I mean, I was making money, I had clients, everything was great. But on this particular day, it was New Year's Eve, and we were in Pennsylvania visiting family. And I didn't see my son for 8 hours because I was working on work for one of my clients. So the family literally had to feed my son, like take care of him. Mm-hmm. They were bringing me food. And I was like, I can't do this. This is not okay. And that's when I decided that this is not the queendom that I want for myself. Mm-hmm. And that's when I made the decision to completely restructure my life and my queendom in that sense, more professionally, because what you do professionally can affect everything. Absolutely. But that was the moment where I decided, okay, so after that trip, I went home. I actually fired clients and I just started from scratch. So I started building the list and really creating what I wanted that vision to be like. And it actually centered on me, my self-care, being able to take care of myself and take care of my family. And I was like, nothing comes before these two things. Yeah. Everything comes after these things.
And that was yourself and
my family.
And your family. Love that. Love that. You know, the visual again in my head as you were talking, actually it was more of a saying that I've heard often, and I'm sure you've heard it too, of keep your personal and your work separate. Keep your personal and your professional separate. And we had a guest on our platform that says something that I felt, but it stuck with me. And that was, my business is personal.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, right, your personal is a part of your business. Like you find what you love based on the things that, you learn, your experiences, kind of sometimes how you were made, like the natural gifts and talents.
Definitely.
Like it's all a part of your personal life as well. Definitely. And so that's why I really like the concept of, this is my house, right? Yep. Like this is my queendom, my domain, my internal house. Of course, residing in an external home, right?
Right.
But this is my house, and I can't have a family on the other side of town.
Right.
For separating my business and my personal, right? Like I'm one family right here. Absolutely. So I love that you said that, because I'm sure you could, definitely shed some light. Maybe folks are struggling to like even figure out where business and personal collide. And it sounds like the queendom, there's a collision happening there that's like, it helps you to, I guess, continue to elevate across all dimensions of well-being, if that's kind of what's resonating with me as I'm listening.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point, because in restructuring my life, I felt I was frustrated, and I was kind of honestly getting a little resentful towards my son and my husband. Like, I can't hit the goals, like the goals that I want to, because I have to take care of y'all and I have to take care of the house and do all these things. And then I realized, Ashton, you've never looked at your life. You did great dreaming of that dream life, but that was without your responsibilities. So then I sat and I was like, oh. And I thought about what that dream life looks like with my responsibilities. And it looked different, not completely different. But then I realized, okay, I always thought I'm gonna have this huge, like, $1 million mansion, and I was like, well, I'm not cleaning that. I don't want that $1 million mansion unless I'm gonna have about at least 3 maids.
That part.
So
I'm with you on that. Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
So
tiny house me.
yes.
Okay.
So I started thinking about, okay, what do I really want? And how does that align with still taking care of my family? And so I started declining clients. I had a lot of clients that wanted to be, work with me, but you're a little toxic. So I just started cutting out a lot of things that didn't resonate with that vision of my life with the responsibilities. And that has allowed me to really build that fulfilled, like, dream queendom that I have dreamed of.
No, that's so good. So I did something in the community the other day that made me think about it, and I'm interested even in your advice on
Oh,
this
yeah.
from a power moves perspective. So I talked about, in order for you to make the time or shift your time so you can live your best life, you have to start getting comfortable with breaking some promises and breaking some commitments. And so I've heard you say twice, like, I had to cancel clients.
Yeah.
I had to fire clients.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, like, how difficult that was, just because sometimes, and even as a black woman, like, when you commit to something, you want to get it
do
done.
it.
Right, I got to get it done. So the act of, like, going to a client and said, I can no longer do this, or I want to release you from our contract, which is, it's usually the other way around, that had to require some, like, you had to die to some old thought patterns and die to your old self to say, I have to do this and break this commitment or break this promise in order for me to make the power move to even live this framework that I'm talking about, right?
Exactly.
So talk to me a little bit about what that can look and feel like, because I feel like people are still holding on to things and not, maybe when I say people, I'm talking about me, because my dominion been shining and growing mostly over the last year and a half. So I wasn't like, I came across confident. Now I'm like, I got dominion. Okay. So when I say I'm with them, I'm talking about me, but I was afraid because I didn't want to let go of things that were attached to my survival,
Right.
and that were externally fueling me, where I didn't have to focus on myself. So what does that letting go look like? Just kind of shed light on what does someone have to, like, they want to move to power. What do they have to, like, let go and really think about to say, I'm going to break up with this so I can make room for this?
That's a really good question, and I will say it's messy. It was messy
Come
as
on.
heck.
Yes.
It was sometimes miserable because it's not comfortable to break commitments. And one thing that always played in my head is I think Tony Robbins says you have to burn the boats and just go for it.
Yeah.
And so I just knew I wanted something different, and I had my faith. Like, okay, if I trust myself, I trust God. So if I have this vision, if this vision was given to me, it's in my heart, then it can become a reality. And I need to trust that, because not trusting that, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burnt out, and I don't believe that that's how I deserve to live. I don't deserve that. I'm worth more. And I will say that now, in this last month, both of my clients gave me promotions. One, I asked for it, but I didn't even have to create a presentation or anything. It's like, hey, yeah, I've been working with you for a year. It's time to
contract. Yesterday's price is not today's
yes.
price.
And the other one paid me more money without me even asking, and like a big amount. So I was like, dang, okay, this is so awesome. It was worth it, but it wasn't overnight. And that's one thing, having the patience and really believing in yourself, working on yourself. I do a lot of work on myself, a lot of self-care, self-love exercises, a lot of being mindful, listening to my body. So it's not just having the vision for it. It's work, and that's why those 10 self-work areas are so important, because you work in those constantly, consistently, and I'm proof that it can pay off.
Yeah, she said, I am evidence and proof. And you're so right. It does. It gets really, really messy. But then we
Completely.
are so, especially in business and professional
Definitely.
and career, um, we are married to some microwave success at times.
Yep.
And that's probably culturally as well. Like we want it to happen. So if I let go of this thing, this needs to happen like right away because I'm making a sacrifice.
Exactly.
And I think what I'm hearing from you is that it requires intentionality. It requires patience,
Lots of
but
patience.
heavy on the intentionality.
Yes,
Yeah.
heavy, and not being afraid to let things go. Um, not being afraid to let money go, because money's
Yes.
an energy, and so you you know, I believe that I'm taken care of,
Yeah.
and I'm doing things in alignment. I'm very intentional with my energy. I'm showing up, um, providing excellent services, you know, being good to people. And so all
Yes.
of that adds up. And realizing it's not just about me.
Yeah.
And that was a big focus point too, especially in rebuilding Women Who Work, because we started as workshops and networking events. And then I was like, well, if you want this to go to the next level, do you really want to do that? And so bringing back that family element, it's like, well, that's going to take time away from my family. So what else? I still want to do that sometimes, but what else can we do? So I started to write books, and I've written, there's 3 workbooks that are out right now, and then I have some more that are coming out too. So I've like, my queendom and making my moves has just completely restructured how I do business, how I move in my relationships, how I work with my clients, like completely different. And I've been in therapy for the past year, and my therapist was like, wow, you've graduated. Like,
Isn't
you're a
that a good
completely
thing?
different person. And she was like, congratulations. And it's not that I'm a completely different person. I just focus on what really matters, and the things that do not really matter. And specifically to my queendom, I'm not focusing on them. I'm
Yeah.
not focusing on that.
Yeah. When I was in more corporate spaces as an employee, that was, it's kind of like going to that meeting and all the questions that you really can't get to in the meeting. It's a parking lot. So we used to have this like board up with the parking lot. Like if it doesn't matter, put it on the parking lot list.
Yeah.
If you start to see that it's coming up in the way that you're doing work or the way that you're living, then you go back and address it.
Right.
But to make it's just no way humanly possible. I don't care how smart intellectually, how high the IQ is. There is no, you can't do everything.
You
Everything
can't.
cannot be a priority.
You can't.
So I like you talked about a couple of tools that sound like other catalysts and just things that can help you make sure that you are at the top of your priorities. For you, you said it's, you and your family.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit more about these tools that you have within a framework, like the self work,
Yes.
and then tell us, like, if I could give you one tool right now. So this is two part question.
Okay.
If I could give you one tool right now out of my book, that is the essential. This is the step of the ten part framework that you need to go do as soon as you finish watching this episode. Share that as well for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna start there. So I would say the visualization exercise of really thinking about your life and thinking about it with your responsibilities and without. And because people, no matter where you are in life, that's something that you can do. And I really advise people to do that type of work at least minimum yearly. I also work in quarters, so not that I'm
So
revisually.
you're a 12-week person?
Yeah,
Ah.
it definitely helps. I think that breaking things down and chunking them makes life a little bit easier, not so overwhelming. So for example, I know like it's Q4. I've been working very hard this year, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit. And then the summers, I slow down a little bit because I've spent more time with the family. So knowing what season you're in is really important.
Yes.
Really, really important.
Yes.
And so when it comes to tools, I have so many, because I literally have created a blueprint to walk you through creating that dream life for yourself.
Yeah.
And part of that too is walking you through what I call my pillars of success, which are acceptance, self-compassion, ownership, self-mastery, contribution, and legacy.
Okay.
And part of the self-work method, which is a method that incorporates the Queendom Moves, is going through those cycles. And I'm always at one of those, in one of those areas.
Yes. Yes.
Right now, today, I feel like I'm in legacy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So is that like how often do you identify, okay, what zone am I in right now? Is it like a daily thing that you're doing, or is it something that you just, look at the season that you're in?
Yeah, I think about it daily. I actually also have a bracelet with all of with different stones that reflect each pillar. And so it's something that I really think about daily. It's not like a must, but I'm like, today I'm feeling, today there's a lot going on. I'm in acceptance today. But I do feel, and I have seen the benefits of because you have to go through all of those cycles. You have to accept, okay, when you think of that vision for yourself, you have to accept it. And then show yourself some self-compassion, especially if you're not where you want to be, and self-compassion surrounding your journey is really important. And then coming to own that story.
Yeah.
What is that? Own it. There's power in your story. And then mastering your skills. Do you need, if you're making 60K, but your dream's to make 100K, what do you need to do to make that other 40K? What does that look like? Does that mean you need to go back and get another certification? And then once you are good, if you notice, all of those kind of work on you, how do you contribute to others, and what does that look like? Are you contributing once quarterly? Because you have to, all of these other, pillars allow you to pour into yourself first. And then how do you want to show up to other people? For other people? And then all of that is you're working on your legacy.
I love that. I read a book recently too. It was Dr. Anita Phillips, and she talked about when you're making goals, or when you're, trying to understand why you're feeling or thinking a certain way, consider your relationships, your purpose, and your legacy. So she has you break them out into those 3 buckets. My point is, I think having some type of framework, so a actual plan and a strategy versus a concept of a plan,
right,
is important. And it sounds like you've got an amazing tool that can help people do that in a practical way, that they can actually apply it. And then get to the next step in their queendom. But it's got to be that self-prioritization. That one's never going to go away.
It's really important.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. Knowing who you are, knowing how you work. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What threats do you have against yourself?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we think it's other people when it's really us.
Absolutely.
Especially if you want to be a leader, whether that's in corporate America or in your business. If you want to get to that next level, it's going to require you to step up in leadership.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I thought about too while you were talking, and we did discuss it a little bit in the pre-show, because obviously there's a reason why self-help, all these tools are available for women, right? Because one, we're human givers.
Yes.
Like, no matter what we do, the human giver syndrome exists, the patriarchy exists, all these things, right? We needed some extra pouring, and our bodies just do different things, right? So I think that there's going to be a necessity for tools that are geared towards women. But I think also, because we're such trendsetters and pace setters and all the things, I think that the work that you're doing still applies to the male and the non-binary community as well, right? So
definitely,
if it was someone who wasn't a woman, and let's set aside if they're going to just buy this for a woman, right? How does this apply to them and how they operate in their kingdom, or just their home, whatever they want to call their home?
Right. And that's something that's super important because even though obviously most of my work right now is geared towards women, Queendom may not resonate. And so I tell people it could be your empire. If you want to use the word
Come
empire,
on.
whatever word that makes you feel good. I mean, if you, hey, my sandcastle, I don't know, like whatever word
It's your
empowers
temple,
you,
your vessel.
you can think of your, I use the word queendom in that way. And all the work that I do, it's made for a woman. It's made by a woman for women. However, it still applies to everyone because I think it's amazing when someone can know themselves, do that self-discovery work, know their shadow, what keeps them back, how they sabotage themselves, and set goals aligned with their core values and the direction they in life that they want to go. And
Right.
so the work that I do definitely cuts across all genders.
Yes, absolutely. I think it all does, but I think, just considering too, like, just how much of influence that women have on the general population. I think the framework is amazing, and I think it's also important for us to say, okay, and this is how it applies to also everyone.
Yes.
One, in the output that women are going to put out there in the world because they went through this framework,
Right.
but then also if you want to come join the party as well, right?
Exactly, because I
Yes.
don't discriminate against
Yeah,
genders.
yes.
Women who work, yes, it's women who work. I can say that men are a huge part of my life. I mean, the reason why I do have a fulfilled life, in part, is from my husband who helps me.
Yes.
My son's father who helps me.
Yes.
I think about how many men have shown up for me. Like my first summit, a man helped me get the venue. Like there's so, and I do believe that men and women should and can work together, and that just creates a more powerful community. So yeah, even though I'm focused primarily on women right now because we need the most help.
Absolutely.
We need the most support. I definitely have worked with men too.
Absolutely. And you said it earlier too, like I think almost perfectly. You have to pour into yourself
Okay.
so that you can go and contribute effectively to your community. And that's all the other genders and the children and all those things. You have, that's why I love what you're talking about, is because it's more just about making sure that you take care of yourself.
Yep.
So that you can pour from not a full cup,
Right.
but a cup that's filled with healthy things.
Yes.
And
love
not
that.
filled with scarcity and trauma and hustle and grind and toxicity. We literally could go on with this for 30 more minutes.
We could.
With the things that our cups are filled with, okay?
Yes.
Because they're not empty. That's another podcast. But I think because of the self-work, like it's focused on how you take care of yourself, it allows us to go and pour into our communities in a way that's more sustainable.
Definitely, because saying no. You brought this up. I say no to a lot of things, and I say yes to a lot of things, and I get to do things like. Last night.
Have we talked about that, or did we talk about the I get to, or you just said that?
I just said it.
Man,
but I heard that once, and it's like I get to do this. So I think that's so important. I get to wake up at 5:30 to.
It's all about the language.
It really
influences the thoughts. Yes,
it is. I think that's such a powerful phrase. I get to do this.
Yes.
I've definitely incorporated that into my morning routine primarily.
Yes, yes.
And it's really helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
And language is so powerful. How you think about things, and especially with I've done a lot of self work on my mind, so that it's healthy. Like I need this mind to be healthy. It's not that the negative things don't pop up or come, they don't, it's not that they never come through, but it definitely is few and far between.
Yes.
And having that community, like even last night, I was like, dang, I'm feeling some type of way right now. I had someone to call. Hey, do you have time to listen to me right now? Because I need to I just need to clear my chest a little bit. And they were like, yeah. And I talked a little bit and then felt better.
Yes, yes, having space to be able to do that. But no, you're being able, what you just said a few minutes ago just like really hit home with me. And you talked about it earlier too. It's visualization.
Yep.
Everything that we're doing is started off with like either something you had an opportunity to do that we call luck.
Yep.
It was something that you dreamed about
Yep.
as a kid, right?
Yep.
Or I wanted, when they ask us when we're young, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I wanted to be a KB Toys manager, and I went into retail. What a coincidence.
Oh, wow.
That's another podcast too. But it's all about this dream we visualized, or this, but we do that thinking about the best case scenario.
Right.
Of, okay, this is the goal, this is the dream, and I, singular, am going to go do it.
Right.
Or this is what I am going to be. And to your point earlier, I think this was probably one of my bigger takeaways from listening and talking and learning from you today was you're considering all those things without your responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so now I think people shy away from thinking about that worst case scenario because we're afraid to be negative.
Right.
We don't want to be negative. You focus on the positive, all the language and the things. Like I teach positive mindset, right? I try to model it. But sometimes we have to think about what the negative things might be so we can envision those. And not that responsibilities are negative.
Right.
But it's just like little roadblocks and detours on this path to getting to that goal. And those just happen to be just responsibilities. Little roadblocks, detours, life lessons.
Exactly.
Call them what you want, like they're going to exist.
They are.
So now I think what I took away, you know, again from learning from you was like, let's consider the things that could be roadblocks.
Yeah.
Like the family, like the, you know, the outside noise. Sometimes it is our marriage to microwave success that could be that roadblock noise, because we're going to have it. Like, and the reason I brought this up is because you said the negative thought, like we always trying to think about like, oh, I don't have negative thoughts, or I'm not going to think like that. I'm going to change my language. I actually think sometimes you have to think about like, this is the thing that could hold me back, or this is the thing that could hurt me, or so you can plan for it. Yeah. And even if that exact thing doesn't happen, you have a healthy framework of what you want success to look like.
Definitely.
Because you considered the alternatives. So that's not that you asked for my lesson, but I wanted to share that before I asked you for your final 5 words. But tell us, how can we get in contact with you? Before your final 5 words, any other just final thoughts that you want to share in regards to Queendom and self-work, and then we'll transition out with your final 5 words.
Perfect. Yeah, I would say I just encourage everyone to do the self-work to get to know you outside of your family, your friends, your culture, your, you know, where you live, your country, just all of that. Like, who are you? And sit with that.
Yeah.
And the good and the bad and the ugly. All of it.
Yeah.
Because we are all beautiful messes.
Yes.
I'll say that.
Messes.
And that's beautiful. It's beautiful to be able to accept who you are truly, who are you wholly. And I think that's like that's the best advice that I can give.
Love it. Now Ashton didn't say go figure out what you do. No. She said who you are. Who you are. So it made me think of when I'm introducing myself. Hi, I'm Candace. I'm a podcaster.
Yeah, I don't do that.
And when I tell you, literally the meeting that I just left was about like, can we just talk about something other than what we do and really connect with people for who they are? So I love that you shared that. So do you have final 5 words?
I do. And I want to say how to find me. So it's womenwhowork.com, and work is WERK, not WORK. No. Work, because we do that work, the self-work.
Yes.
My final 5 words are build your queendom today. Now.
Hey, because it don't have to be hard when it's easy. Build your queendom today. Now.
Now.
Do it now. Like, such great advice. It might sound simple, but it like 10 things came to my mind when you said it, of the things that we're waiting to perfect.
Yeah.
before we start taking care of ourselves, or the changes
Yeah.
that we're looking for others to make before we start choosing ourselves.
Yeah.
I just heard, and what I received today was choose yourself now.
Choose yourself, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, it is you.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you choose yourself, the more energy you actually have for others.
Yes.
So if you want to help others, a lot of people are like, I want to help others, I want to make an impact. Focus on you
Yes.
first. Because when you start feeling sick, if you know yourself, you're like, oh, let me pull back,
Yeah.
versus really
Hopefully.
hopefully, before you get to that point. So
Yeah.
know yourself.
Yes.
For sure.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for
This
having
has been
me.
such a pleasure. We look forward to doing fun and amazing things with you and your organization throughout the 2025 year. And we appreciate you blessing our platform. Make sure you all check out Ashton Lynn Rondon from Women Who Work. Today she talked to us about Queendom, and that is taking care of home. Have a good evening, everybody.